The FIRE movement is super popular these days. It's growing like wildfire. No pun intended. A lot of people are interested in the FIRE movement, and the internet has created a medium through which people can communicate, share information, and basically create pathways for folks to actually reach this goal. But have you ever wondered how many people have actually been able to pull it off? And if so, at what point in their life are they able to do it? In this video, we're going to take a look at the age that people actually reach financial independence. First off, we need to talk about what we mean by financial independence, because there's at least some portion of a population that apparently thinks this is the point where kids leave the nest and become financially independent of their parents, and that's not what we're talking about. The financial independence we're talking about is the point in life where you have enough net worth or assets to generate enough income to support your lifestyle without having to get income from a traditional job. In other words, no job, no parents, no problems. All right, first things first. There's some challenges to identifying the age when people actually reach financial independence and retired early. And part of the reason is there's so many different types of FIRE. There's traditional FIRE, there's fat FIRE, lean FIRE, obese FIRE, barista FIRE, coast FIRE, flamingo FIRE, fiber, baby FIRE.
That's about it.
There's so many different types, so trying to pinpoint a single group in all that mess is kind of difficult. Despite all that variety, the consistent theme is financial independence, the FI piece. In 2022, Gallup did a survey in which they studied the difference or delta between the time people expected to retire and when they actually did, and the results were pretty fascinating. First off, we want to show you basically when people retire. So we've got the information on the screen, just some things to point out. First off, you can see the vast majority of people still retire after they turn age 65, like 70%. And I was a bit shocked also to see that only 2% of workers retire before the age of 50. I really thought it would be a little higher than that. And perhaps most enlightening to me was how much trouble you'd have finding a peer to go play golf or pickleball with if you retire before age 60. Only 1 in 10 of your friends would be available. And this is certainly grounds for considering or reconsidering exactly how you plan to spend your retirement. If there's nobody to hang out with, you probably don't need to be in a rush to get there. Now, to help digest this data a little more clearly, we put in a graph so you can see the size of each age range. Now, I'm only guessing here, but I'm assuming this chart will move more youthful, that as time goes on, more people will retire early. I believe about 40% of millennials plan to retire before age 65. So who knows? In 20 years, maybe it'll look a little different. We'll just have to wait and see. So while we were researching retirement age or financial independence age, we stumbled across some other data that we found really interesting and we thought we'd share it as well. The first was why people actually retire. And you might assume it's because they finally get enough money to do so, but that's actually not always the case. As it turns out, only 1 in 5 people who retired did so because they were financially ready. Now we have another chart on the screen to illustrate why people retire, and some of the primary drivers for that. Sadly, negative working conditions, health issues, or being laid off were the primary reason 45% of the time. And another 11% retired because they had to take care of someone, their spouse retired, or their employer closed its doors. In other words, 56% of the time, the primary motivator for someone's retirement was a circumstance that was beyond their control. The Gallup study also found that on average, people retired about 4 to 6 years earlier than they expected. And all that is to say, it's not a bad idea to try to accumulate enough money to become financially independent earlier than you think you might need to. Hey, if you find this video interesting, please do us a big favor and click the like and subscribe buttons below. It's actually a really huge help to our channel, helps us get the word out and teach other people about finance. All right, we also found numbers for retirement age by gender. And the good news for you ladies is you typically retire at least 3 years before men. Now, I don't know exactly why this is the case. I'm assuming it's because typically in a marriage, the female is the younger spouse. And if the couple plans to retire together, then on average, the female spouse or the wife will have a lower age at retirement. But that's just a guess. We also found retirement data by race. Now, I have to admit, I was a little surprised here. I expected that white or Caucasian Americans would retire earlier because there's kind of a disproportionate amount of wealth in their hands. I figured, again, I've been assuming the more you have, the quicker you retire, but obviously that's not the case. Common reasons for the difference here were retiring to take care of loved ones or personal health issues. Now, if you're paying close attention, you'll notice the data in this table actually conflicts with the first one we showed you. After all, how can nearly half of all white, black, and Hispanic retirees retire before age 61, while only 32% of all retirees retire before age 65? And granted, we've left out a few ethnicities in this table, but it's unlikely that they would skew the data that much. Let me attempt to offer a few explanations. Lost my light. Well, lights out. Explanation number one is that the definition of retirement could be different in each study. We don't know if they meant people who are completely retired, people who had left their primary jobs, worked part-time. It's also possible the Federal Reserve data is based on the age when people begin pulling Social Security or filing for Social Security, which may or may not actually coincide with their complete retirement date. Explanation number two comes from our friend Mark Twain. He said that there are three types of liars. There are liars, they're dang liars, and they're statisticians. There's probably a little bit of that at play here. Some of the data we have came from the Federal Reserve, some of it came from Gallup. Their polling methods could be different, the margin of error could be significant. The data more or less coincide, so we're gonna roll with it. All right, finally, we found the average retirement age by state, and we'll put that on the screen here for you to look at. And there's a lot of variety in it. There are some parts that seem concentrated geographically, but very little overall. If you look at Tennessee, North Carolina, Kentucky, Virginia, West Virginia, it looks like they all pick a different year to hang it up and go home. And Hawaii, it's such a beautiful state. Why wait till 66 to retire? And in case you can't see Washington, D.C. or Rhode Island on the map, those states retired at ages 67 and 65 respectively. All right, we hope you found this interesting, but the age that you retire will depend more on your savings rate than anything else, your geography, race, gender, any of that stuff. And for more on this and other financial independence topics, please visit our website at martinmoney.com. You can also check us out on our social channels on the screen below. We'll provide a link to the written version of this video on our website in the description below. We'll also link the Next Dollar Roadmap, which is our path from creating a budget and just starting out financially all the way to financial independence, so you can find where you're at on that journey and kind of optimize the path. As always, we're grateful to you for watching our videos and your interest in what we're doing. God bless and take care.